So tomorrow, maybe this 2025 paper, that was not useful because most of the questions were somewhat straightforward. India 9% is also pretty decent in comparison to US 7 because India's acceptable inflation is 6, let's say, on the upper side. But US acceptable inflation is always, US is 1.5 to 1.5. Bank interest rates were increased in US to such an extent that people could not afford real estate loans. This is what happened 2020. So current affairs related to financial instruments and banking become most important for prelims from the observation. So if I'm not reading all current affairs, 2 topics, current affairs which are very important. 1, financial markets. 2, banking.
The UPSC exam doesn't defeat you with difficulty. It defeats you with confusion, lack of clarity, lack of direction, and preparation that feels scattered. At Vision IAS Delhi, we rebuild your UPSC journey with structure, strategy, and support that doesn't waver. Get complete coverage of GSC, SAT, and essays step by step. PT 365 and Mains 365, so current affairs stop feeling like chaos. Personal mentorship, not just advice, but actual strategy guidance. Test feedback loops, because growth begins where guesswork ends. Toppers didn't just prepare, they built the right foundation. Now it's your turn. This isn't just a course, it's where clarity, consistency, and confidence begin.
And how many of you have written exam this time? Prelims. Okay. Okay, so what we'll try to do is, we'll try to understand, we are going to look into a few question papers of last 3 years. And we'll try to frame an approach for the coming year. So this should be our strategy today, okay? And before we do that, what we should understand is, especially 2024 question paper, where there were some errors in UPSC key. Okay, so why I'm starting up with this error concept is because of complex errors in 2024, 2025 paper, economy, the questions are more direct. I think you're getting my point, right? So this is something like, there are some complex questions in 2024, where you find some errors with respect to key. So that is also there with respect. Polity, there was a straightforward question where there was an error. And economy, they have removed one question. Overall, they have removed 3 questions, 2024 paper. 3 questions have been removed. Okay, so, and economy, 1 question is removed, which is a simple question that was removed. That is a straightforward question was removed. And there are 2 questions where there is some problem with respect to the answer, 2-3 questions of economy. And because of that reason, now you find that, okay, in 2025, how the paper has changed. Okay, you have some numerical questions. You find 2 numerical questions in 2025, number-based questions, fiscal deficit, revenue deficit. So there is no discrepancy. That means UPSC is trying to avoid some discrepancy. That is, you're trying to reduce the margin of error with respect to questions. That is the reason you have those numbers being visible. So that means in the subsequent, I think in the next prelims also, you can't have dicey questions. That dicey question where you don't know the answer or UPSC key. Why? Because already people are not happy. And therefore, there would be more straightforward questions, conceptual questions. So this is what we have to understand. Okay. So if you look at the different question papers, questions. Okay. So for example, one area where every year question is coming is obviously the something related to bonds. So this year question paper also there was a question on bonds, which was a simple question or a straightforward question. Okay. And last year also there was a question which is related to bonds. Are you able to get this? Okay. So if you look at this question, this is something like statement 1, statement 2, and which of the following is correct with respect to the above statements. Okay. This year, what was the question? This year question was, bonds are less riskier in comparison to shares. On the verge of bankruptcy, who will be settled first? Bondholder would be settled, followed by shareholder. This was the question. This we discussed in our basics class, in the regular basics class itself. We discussed about bond. It was a basic question that was asked. Now, why was a basic question asked? Because there was a more complicated question already asked 2024. There were 2 questions that were asked already in 2024. Of course, the answer for this question, there's no trouble. But this was the question that was asked. Okay, so if you see this question, statement 1, US were to default on its debt, holders of treasury bonds will not be able to exercise their claims to receive payment. Okay, so always statement questions, it is always better I take a decision after reading both the statements. This is something which you have to keep in mind. That means whenever there are statement-based questions, I will not take a call only by reading statement 1, but rather I will also read statement 2 and then figure out whether this statement is right or wrong. Why? Because it is also important to understand the examiner's mind, what context he has prepared. Okay, so for example, some were saying, if I am not paid, then I'll go to the court. But that doesn't mean that you can exercise your claims to receive payment. Once you're not paid, you're not paid. You can't exercise your claim. The US government debt is not backed by any hard asset, but only by the faith of the government. That means since it is not backed by any asset, you can't exercise your immediate claim on this asset. Are you able to get this? That means this statement is okay, and the second statement explains the statement 1. Are you able to get this? That means you are not, here US were to default on its debts, holders of treasury bonds will not be able to exercise their claim. Those bond holders cannot exercise their claim. Okay, so why you can't exercise their claim? Because the debt is not backed by any hard asset. Are you able to get this? So keep in mind, if there is a complex question, statement-based questions, or assertion reason question, read both the statements and then take a call. This is something which you keep in mind. Is that clear? Okay. But you don't find such questions in the next year. Now, if you see, this is a simple question. Now, this is a question where there is some discrepancy between UPSC key and the thought process of what students think. I'll tell you what is the discrepancy. So there are certain questions where there are some discrepancies. This is 2024 paper. Okay, now if you see this question, which of the following statements given above are correct? Okay. What is the answer for this question? Anybody? One, two? 1, 2, 3. No. Anybody checked UPSC key? Anybody has checked the UPSC key that was released? No, you've not checked. So actually 2 and 3 looks decent, right? But what UPSC key for this question is 1, 2, and 3. This is what I'm saying. There are some questions where there is discrepancy. So that's very important that you go to those questions, check UPSC key. Now you may feel bad, what is this? How can a UPSC come up with this kind of answer? Okay, so now the question is here, first of all, in India, for FIs can hold GSECs, yes. Okay, can FIs get into primary market? Can FIs buy in the primary market? Yes, they can also buy in the primary market. They can also buy primary market. Okay, and they can buy bonds also. They can buy shares also. There's no confusion. In India, stock exchanges can offer a separate trading platform for debts. Yes, you have a stock exchange offer a separate trading. If you have a Zerodha account, you can see. Okay, so you have auctions at the bottom. You press auctions, you will find there is a separate platform where you can. So these two are okay. There's no problem with 2 and 3. Now the question is, in India, NBFCs can access to LAF window. Now if you go to RBI website, you go back and do this research. Go back to RBI website and see, type who can borrow under LAF window. LAF, liquidity adjustment facility, repo, reverse repo. Okay, so what you will find is, banks can borrow obviously. But all NBFCs are not eligible for LAF. They can't borrow as under LAF. NBFCs benefit because of repo rate reductions. For example, 2 days back, RBI, if you know, the repo rates have come down to 5.5, 50 basis point reduction. So immediately you observe that all the NBFCs shares were increasing, prices were increasing. Why? That means NBFCs will benefit because of repo rate cut, because they can take easy loan from banks. It's not that NBFCs directly participate and borrow straight from RBI. Are you able to get my point? You're able to get it? Okay. So now, but there are some NBFCs which are called as primary dealers, a specific set of NBFCs which are primary dealers. Primary dealers trade in GSEC and securities. Not all NBFCs, there's a specific criteria for those NBFCs. And only those NBFCs which are primary dealers, they can only access what? LAF. Now the question is, in India, if it would have been all NBFCs can access, suppose, I'm changing the question, all NBFCs, wrong. Few NBFCs, right. Okay. Or NBFCs which are primary dealers, statement right. But in India, NBFCs can access LAF window of RBI. Now, how do I take this is the question. I think you got my point. This is what I mean by 2024. See, our logic should be based on 2024. See, we are analyzing 23, 24, 25. But what our logic should be is 24, what was the problem? 3 questions were removed. What were the complexities in the key? Based on which, how did 2025 paper turn out? And how is 2026 going to be? This should be our thought process. Now, if you see this, NBFCs can access LAF window of RBI. Directly, no. But what is UPSC key? Go back and check UPSC key. UPSC has given 1, 2, and 3. UPSC not given 2 and 3. Are you able to get this? Understood everybody what I'm trying to explain? Okay. So I'm not saying UPSC is wrong. I'm only saying that this statement could have been better. I'm not against, I'm not saying. What I'm saying is this statement could have been better so that the student would figure out things better. So there were many questions like this, for example, in other subjects also. So that's what 2024 analysis is very critical, very important. We should not leave 2024 saying that there is discrepancy in key. Since there is trouble, so more analysis of 2024 will tell us what we have to do. You're able to get this? Okay, so everybody's understood what I'm trying to explain. So go back and see which NBFCs can borrow under LAF. Definitely not all NBFCs. There's a criteria for those NBFCs. Now UPSC took NBFCs can borrow. That means every NBFC can it borrow using repo and reverse repo? This is the question. What is the source for your answer? Okay, so I hope you're able to get what I'm trying to say. Is that okay? So now these questions, See, that means one area, that is the financial markets, there are continuous questions every year. So observe US bonds question was there. Okay, now you find this. This year bonds, there was a question. This year alternate investment fund question was there. You have to just identify which one of the following is part of alternate investment fund. So one theme is clear, that financial markets, there will be 3 or 4 questions that are coming every year, like 2, 3 questions minimum in financial market. Now this is a simple question. Okay, so in India, which of the following can trade in corporate bonds and government securities? Same year, this question also. That is, it is again related to bonds and corporate bonds and securities. 2024 only. Okay, and there is no discrepancy in this question. It's a straightforward question. There's no trouble. Okay, so here, insurance companies, can they trade? Pension fund companies, retail investors like us, all of them. So there's no problem there. Everybody can trade corporate bonds, G-Secs. Can individuals buy G-Sec? That was also a question separately asked. Yes, we can. Individuals can buy G-Sec. Are you able to get this? Okay. So insurance companies, can they buy corporate bonds, G-Secs? It's not only individuals, they can also do. Pension funds, yes. Retail investors like us, yes. We can also buy Adani bonds. We can also buy G-Secs. Is that okay? So there's no trouble in this question. Same year, this question was asked in the same year. Okay, so 2024 only, again. Now you can see he has given some options. And he has asked which of the following are considered financial instruments. Okay, so this is a simple question. Because there's no concept here, you need to just identify. So this is identify questions which you need to identify, there's no trouble. So for example, motor vehicle, is it financial instrument? No. Answer is given, so that means 2 has to be removed. So either it should be 1 and 3 or 1 only. This is okay, there's no confusion. So when we talk about the debt market, and then we talk about the equity market. In the equity market, you have mutual funds, you have ETFs, you have bonds, debentures, you have derivatives. This is how you learn. In every textbook it is there. In our class also we discussed. So when I say derivatives, derivatives has what? Options, it has futures, it has swaps. Swap is also a derivative instrument or financial instrument. If you would really framed a question on swap, it would have been difficult. But you have to just identify that swap is also a derivative instrument or a financial instrument, like the option futures and swaps. These are what? Derivatives, the most riskiest. Why they have asked this question? SEBI has come up with new rules on derivatives. And last 1.5 to 2 years, lot of changes on the derivative instruments. So this year also there is a question, I'll show you. Our option contracts have increased, Hong Kong, we have crossed. This was a question. Very clearly, the simple question was asked. Why? Because it is clearly visible in the newspaper. There's a lot of discussion going about these instruments. And that is the reason they've asked. At least UPSC is expecting that you should know what it is. You're able to get this? So there's no trouble with this question. So we'll see where there's no trouble. We'll also see those questions where there is trouble. And then frame our approach. Is this okay till here? Okay. So now again, there is a trouble here. You have seen this question. That means this is another area which is important again. This is sectors of economy. So always remember NCERT, there is the sectors of economy, and it is very important that we read this topic properly. For mains also, it is very important. Those who are preparing writing mains this year. So sectors becomes important, especially the secondary sector, manufacturing in the secondary sector. Now, anybody who has checked the key of this question? UPSC key. UPSC key of this question. This is 2024. Okay, you try telling me like what should be the answer. Only 2. That is UPSC key. Okay, only 2. So which two, you'll tell me, which two are right? 2, dairy farm, primary, no tension. Weaving cloth, secondary. Is that okay? Weaving cloth, is it secondary? See, this one, storage of agricultural produce, this is tertiary. Agriculture storage. It's a service. Okay, so it's tertiary. Okay, that is wrong. I don't have any problem there. Weaving cloth, secondary. Decent enough. Dairy farm, primary, no tension. Now the problem is with the third statement, mineral exploration. Discrepancy. Now, is mineral exploration same as mining, is the question. Now, if I take mining, mining would be what? Primary. Okay. You're taking mining. Okay. Now, what is mineral exploration? Now, if I look at mineral exploration in depth, now is mineral exploration something which I do before mining? Explore whether there is mineral. If I look at it from that context, it becomes tertiary. Are you able to understand what I'm trying to say? You're able to get this? So exploration, mining, exploration. So I'm exploring whether there are important minerals or not. Now if I'll take it as a service rendered, then it becomes tertiary. Got the point? Are you able to get this? Is that okay? So, but when I look at mining, obviously mining will not be tertiary. Now, UPSC answer is only 2. 2 are right. Are you able to get this? Is that okay? Now, this paper was one paper where students felt very bad after UPSC released the key. There was one polity question also, straight from the Bayer Act, where there was a direct mistake. That you can't even, economy at least you can say like this it has come. But polity directly from Bayer Act, there's a mistake. So now we can't do anything. What I'm trying to tell you is, if that is the case, what should be our approach? And how are the papers going to turn out the subsequent years? Is that okay? Fine. So now few more questions to our analysis. There's no trouble here. This is a straightforward question. Yes. Which two are right? Where was this question again? Second one is right, and fourth one is right. Mineral exploration, they are taking it as not tertiary, let's say. Mineral exploration is not tertiary. Can I say that? Is So it's wrong. So now the question is mineral exploration. How am I looking at mineral exploration is the question. No. If it would have been services, then what is the answer for this question? Got the point, right? Okay. Is that okay? Understood? Few more things are there. Now, this is straightforward, no confusion, easy question, no tension. Okay? And it's not a dicey question also. You should know what is a fixed asset, what is a working capital. Okay, and there is no trouble in such a kind of question. Like, for example, farmer's plow. What is this? Fixed asset. Okay. Computer, fixed capital. Yarn used by the weaver, working capital, not fixed, obviously. Then petrol, working capital. We will not go and see the answer. We know it is a straightforward question, no confusion, decent enough. So these are the type of questions that they are asking. So that is something which we have to keep in mind. Now, there is a problem in this question. Same year 2024. There is a problem in this question. Okay, so UPSC answer for this question was D. You can go back and check the key. UPSC answer for this question is D. Key. UPSC key says D. Okay. First statement is clear. False. There is minimum capital requirement. That is straightforward. Minimum capital requirement. Okay. Now go back to RBI website and type this. You do it by yourself. You can go back to RBI website, type. You will find for wholly owned banking subsidiaries in India, at least 50% of the board members should be Indian nationals. So this is basically with reference to the rules imposed by Reserve Bank while treating foreign banks, consider the following statements. And you will find this statement visible in RBI's. Are you able to get this? You will find this second statement okay. So if you really know the answer, it would have been only 2 based on RBI's website, but UPSC key is neither 1 nor 2. This dicey. First time you have so many dicey problems in the key. Now some student was saying, sir, only 1 mark I lost prelims. So that's the reason God's support is required. Simple. Especially when the key is like this. Okay, so now we'll plan out what has to be done. There is no trouble with this question. This is a straightforward question. Okay, so the corporate social responsibility. Specify that expenditures that benefit the company directly or its employees will not be considered as CSR. Okay? Yes. True. Do not specify. They specify. They specify. 2%. Okay? So this is no tension, straightforward, decent question, no trouble. This is about few analysis of questions of 2024. Some analysis of 20. What is the logic we will try to understand from 2024 is, one is more questions from financial market and sectors of economy. At the end, there's one slide where we have to focus. Okay, so that slide will tell you where we have to focus more. Okay, so one is financial markets, very clear. Every year there is a question. There are 2 questions, or 3 questions. And second is sectors of economy. Now, when it comes to dicey question, or see, these dicey questions are coming up because UPSC is trying to make the paper more difficult. So in this view of trying to make it more difficult, some logic is getting missed. Okay, and therefore UPSC also knows that there is a lot of people are not happy with respect to the key. They know that, and that is clearly visible in the analysis of. I'll come to 23 also. That was clearly visible in the analysis of 2025. So in the 2025 paper, you have 2 numericals. Okay, very straightforward. In numericals, can there be any discrepancy? No. That means UPSC is trying to avoid these kind of discrepancies, and the paper was made in such a way that you know, yes, this is the answer, especially with respect to economics. And this will continue next year. This has to continue. UPSC can't give such questions where you have trouble in figuring out A, B. No. That is the reason the economy questions were made little more simpler than the 2024 and more specific. Means you will be able to identify the answer. Yes, this is the answer. So that thing has to be kept in mind when I'm preparing. Okay, so let's see, this is a recent paper. Let's see a few questions and understand the change in the pattern from 24 to 25. That observation is very important. So if you look at this, easy question only. So when I say alternate investment, bond is not alternate investment, everybody can. Okay, and stocks are also not alternate investment, anybody can. Obviously, alternate investments are like hedge funds and venture capital. So alternate investment fund, actually in the class I've given some homework to students, like go back and read in ChatGPT how many categories of alternate investment funds are there. Okay, so you have different categories of AIFs. And venture funds, hedge funds are risky. Okay, and UPSC will not dig deeper and ask like, in the category 2, what is there? Because this is not a finance exam. So I should know what is alternate investment fund. 2, why people invest in alternate investment fund. 3, who will regulate alternate investment fund? This is your research. Who will regulate alternate investment fund? 4, will mutual fund be called as alternate investment fund or not? This was asked in SEBI exam. Is mutual fund same as alternate investment fund or is it different? Can everybody invest in alternate investment fund or only few? Are you able to get this? So when I look at this question, this is the analysis I have to do. Go back and do. I'll not stop at, okay, I know the answer. I know that hedge funds and venture capital. So straightforward, no trick, no confusion, no discrepancy. If UPSC gives a wrong answer for this, finished. It can't. Got the point, right? Okay, so this is very clear. Again, this was a question that was asked. Of course, this is a straightforward question. There's no trouble. So this is basically, which of the following are sources of income for RBI? So we discussed this in our money class. Money. So in the money class, we talk about assets and liabilities of RBI. So there are some assets of RBI, some. See, RBI is a non-profit organization. And therefore, though it makes maximum profit, it does not pay income tax. It's not for profit organization. That is something which we should know. And RBI makes a lot of profit through different ways. Okay, so what are the ways through which RBI makes profit and what are the ways through which RBI does not make, is not involved? Okay, so very clearly you can observe and remove few options here. Lending to private companies. No. RBI lending. Are you able to get this? Pension fund management. No. RBI does not handle this. Are you able to get this? Okay, so there is a clear observation that what has to be done with such a question. Okay, so there's no confusion. So this is what you observe. That means UPSC paper has become more specific without much of dicey questions. There's nothing like A may be the answer, C may be the answer, because UPSC knows that there was a trouble in the key they prepared. It's not that they're not aware. Is that okay? Yes. You should tell me. Yes, it makes RBI should be making some money out of it. Yeah. Tell me, will 5 be there or not? You have checked the this paper was in detail. It was discussed. So what should be the answer? D. What about buying and selling bonds? Does RBI make money out of it? Yes. What about buying and selling foreign currency? Yes. It makes money. Do we have 1, 2, and 5 in the options? It's missed, huh? Okay. So what about printing and distributing currency notes? No, first of all, when we talk about printing money, does RBI make anything out of printing money? No. Okay. But that becomes again, it becomes part of the monetary. When you're saying if it is LAF again, that is going to be different. So most ideal options should be 1 and 2. But how UPSC figures that out. Okay, so most ideal should be 1 and 2. Okay. Don't worry, you may get 125. Don't worry. So this is something like, is that okay? What was your answer? Did you write the exam? No, okay. Come back now. See, this was again asked bonds related question. Last year, US bonds, which of the following is a financial instrument? That was again a question in the financial markets. Now, this was a straightforward question. This is direct from the basics class only. Those who have attended the basics class, first 2-3 days, not even financial market. So, as regards returns from an investment in a company, generally bond holders are considered to be relatively at lower risk. Straightforward, everybody knows. Okay, bond holders are lenders. Obvious, bond holder are lender. Okay, and whereas stockholders are owners. Bond holder is a creditor. Stockholder is a owner. Okay. For repayment, bond holders are prioritized, obvious. Okay, so on the verge of bankruptcy, bond holder are settled first, then followed by preferential shareholder, followed by equity shareholder. But overall, it is bond holder, then comes the stockholder. Simple. This is a straightforward question. So UPSC was very careful that there will not be any discrepancy. That is the observation. So make clear observations here. No discrepancy. Straightforward question. Now see this. This is also from the same topic. Again, this year. Okay, so those who have written the exam should be knowing this question was asked. Okay, so very clear. India accounts for a very large portion of all equity option contracts traded globally, thus exhibiting a great option contracts. Anybody who's just opening the newspaper will know that very large portion of equity contracts traded. Okay, then India's stock market has grown rapidly in the recent past. Can you say no? Yes, it has grown, even surpassing, overtaking. That too at some point of time, obviously it's okay. Very clearly given. Third, there is no regulatory body. SEBI is there. Madam is telling, earlier madam was there, SEBI madam. And there were some issues also. Of course, that's not proved, so I don't talk much about that. So here there were some issues also that SEBI madam had some trouble. Okay, but madam was warning small investors, careful, out of options. This is what was there for 2 months in news. And they said, no trouble, we'll straight away give. Answer should be obviously. Very clear question, no confusion. Okay, so this, observe the pattern change. This is anybody who would have read basics of fiscal policy, where we draw a table, revenue receipt, revenue expenditure, capital receipt, capital expenditure. Okay, and it's a very straightforward question. Okay, and there can't be two ways about the answer. What are capital receipts? Capital receipts either reduce my assets or increase the liability. Reduce asset or increase the liability. Okay, so when I look at disinvestments, what will disinvestment do? It will reduce the asset. Disinvestment will reduce the asset. Disinvest. Government asset is coming down. Okay. Loans taken by government, what will happen? Liability will increase. What is a liability? Liability is something which I owe to others. Owe. Asset is something which I own or something that gives me return in future. This is the basic definition of asset and liability. So when I talk about loan and interest, interest is never a liability. That is the reason interest received is part of revenue receipt. Interest received, dividend received, all that is part of revenue receipt. But when I tell loans taken, capital receipt. Why? Because it is creating a liability. Now you say even a zero interest loan is also a liability. Liability. Zero interest loan. Why? Principal amount you are liable. So something that increases liability or reduces asset is what is capital receipt. Are you able to get this? So it's a basic question without confusion. No confusion at all here. Okay, so if you look at capital receipts, create a liability or cause a reduction in the assets. Okay, borrowings and disinvestment are capital receipts. The question is framed like, okay, you answer. Okay, so then interest received on loans creates a liability. No. Loan creates a liability. Where will interest received go? Interest received goes in the which receipt? Revenue receipt. Is that okay? So this is a basic question, so without much of confusion. Now this is asked to reduce that discrepancy. Are you able to get this? You can't say two ways about the answer. Okay, so you can't say A and B, A or B. This trouble should not be there. So instead of asking a basic question as what is primary deficit, he has given two values and asked primary deficit, which is nothing but fiscal deficit minus interest payments. Are you able to get this? FD minus interest payments. FD is what? Borrowings. You will get this. Okay, so here this is this year's question only. 50,000 crore FD. It is receiving 10,000 crore through non-debt creating capital receipts. The country interest liabilities are 1,500. What is the gross primary deficit? Okay, this was the question. So this, don't get confused by non-debt creating capital receipts. What is non-debt creating capital receipt? Example? Example of course, that's not required to solve the question. So you should just know the formula. What is the formula? Primary deficit, FD minus interest payments. Non-debt creating capital receipts example, disinvestment. Disinvestment, non-debt creating capital receipt. 2, loans recovered. Loans, not loans taken, loans recovered. The loan which I have already given has been recovered. So, disinvestments and loans recovered is basically part of my non-debt creating capital receipt. Is that okay? Is this clear, everybody? Understood? So, you find one more question, same this year only. Again a number, where straightforward you will get the answer. Everything is clearly given in the question. No discrepancy from fiscal policy. Why this is done, as far as my logic goes, based on the issues in the key of 2024. That is my logic, and I think the logic is right. Okay, so that the amount of discrepancy has to reduce, especially in economics questions. Why? Syndicate lending has been removed, though it was okay. US bonds, there was a discrepancy. NBFC question, remember NBFC? Foreign bank conditions 50%, there was a discrepancy. Got the point right. So in UPSC 3-4 discrepancies means it is students. One question is sufficient to push you up and down. So that will reduce, that has reduced, that will further reduce in the next year, as far as my logic goes. And therefore, you will not find vague questions, so don't break your head. Stick to basics. Focus on concepts. Understand what the word is. If one question there is a discrepancy, leave that question. This also you have to learn. When you feel that there is a problem, leave it. Don't try attempting such questions. Okay, so we'll understand what has to be done after some time. So here, this is a question very straightforward. Revenue expenditure so much, revenue receipts. The government budget also shows borrowings and interest payments of so much. Which of the following statements? Revenue deficit. Revenue expenditure minus revenue receipt. Fiscal deficit, nothing but borrowings of the government, clearly given in the question. Okay. Primary deficit, fiscal deficit minus interest payment. Okay, all three straightforward, no tension. Some students, oh, numbers, so I'll not solve. No, not like that. UPSC is telling, please mark the answer. Is that okay? Okay, so we'll go to 2020. We have seen 24 and 25, right? So before we make analysis, let's go to 2023 question paper. So last 3 years, one question has been removed. And 2024 paper, overall 3 questions have been removed. 3. 3 questions which are removed, I have not discussed them. 3 are not economics. Only 1 was economics which was removed. 1 history question was also removed. Cornwallis. I don't know why. Okay, and syndicate lending. I don't know why they have removed. It's straightforward. Okay, straightforward. That means people have, maybe students have appealed. Okay, or whatever. I don't know why they have removed syndicate lending. But there were many other discrepancies which I have shown you. 2, 3 discrepancies. Is that clear? So based on which our approach should change, let's see few. So difficulty level, if you observe, 2024 difficult, 25 straightforward compared to 24, and more focused on telling you, yes, this is the answer. And 2 numericals also, it's not to trick you or surprise you. That numerical logic is, if they wanted to trick you, they'll give some, they could have given in national income. Same question, which most of you will not attempt or will become difficult. Wantedly, they have given in fiscal policy, indicating that I want to reduce discrepancy. 2 questions, out and out numbers. Okay, so now this is 23. 23 paper was difficult. Difficult in the sense, there were good questions. Okay, so here if you see, this is about InvITs, Infrastructure Investment Trust. Now, InvITs, REITs, Real Estate Investment Trusts. These 2 are in news. SEBI madam herself was suggesting, invest in REIT, invest in InvITs. They are under the ambit of SEBI. Okay, and this was asked because that year there was a change in the budget. Okay, so budget, there was a slight change that was brought in. That change was basically both, if you see this, in the InvIT category, both the dividend amount, interest amount will be taxed. Okay, so that change was brought in the budget. And this was a question picked up from budget and current. That is basically linking the concept to current affair. So this is an observation which you should make. So that means there are questions where I will take a current affair and I will link it to the concept. So that kind of question this is. Okay, so this is a difficult question in exam condition. Difficult question. For example, you see this, interest income from deposits of InvITs distributed to their investors is exempted from tax, but the dividend is taxable. Wrong statement. Both are taxed, and that was added in the budget, and therefore that question was asked. Current affair. Okay. InvITs are recognized as borrowers under the Surface Act 2002. Surface Act. Surface Act you read in banking, and InvITs are also seen as borrowers. InvITs, what they do? They borrow, they pull up funds, and they invest into some real estate project. And you're buying an asset. Units are allotted to you if you buy an InvIT. Okay, units are allotted to you, and like the mutual fund, and as and when the project runs, the government or the company is earning returns, they will distribute it to you. This is what happens. It's a easier way of investing in infrastructure, or you have REITs, Real Estate Investment Trust. Okay, REIT also the same concept. Pull up funds like the mutual fund, invest into commercial real estate. And the commercial real estate starts making money, then you are allotted some. So our logic is not to understand the question paper basically. Is that okay? So this is a difficult question. So what you should understand is, whenever something is coming up in current affair, like InvIT or REIT, I will go to ChatGPT, or I will use Google or ChatGPT AI in digging deeper into what it is. That approach should not stop. So tomorrow, maybe this 2025 paper, that was not useful because most of the questions were somewhat straightforward. Second thing which you have to keep in mind, that means InvIT was in news, REIT is in news, then I will dig deeper into InvIT. There is inverse ETF in news, not asked. So what is ETF? What is inverse ETF? Already last year there was a question about ETF, whether it is financial instrument. So now subsequently I'll dig deeper into what is ETF, current affair, what is there related to ETF. Everything comes at one place when you type ETF. Okay, so news, inverse ETF is there. That is how you have to dig deeper into the words. Is that clear? There is no confusion with respect to the question. The question is okay. 2023 this is. So this is again a monetary policy question straight from newspaper. Okay, so straight from newspaper. That means anybody who's reading newspaper regularly will mark the answer. Without reading newspaper also you can mark the answer based on logic. So if you look at the question, check the question and tell me the answer. So if you know, after COVID, inflation across the globe increased after COVID. Currently, how much is our inflation? If I ask you, currently how much it is around approximately. Right? If it would have been 6, RBI will not reduce the repo rate by 50 basis point. So that is the logic. That means it is under control, which is below 4. So it is 3.7. Okay, that is the reason RBI could also go ahead with that monetary stimulus of 50 basis points, CRR reduction, what it has done without any tension, because inflation is 3.7, which is way below 4, and therefore we are okay. Now, after COVID, after the lockdown was pushed off, not in India, inflation touched 7.2% in US also. Inflation across the globe was on a higher side. Are you able to get this? Not. In Turkey it touched more than 80%. Turkey, it touched 80%. India, 9% is also pretty decent in comparison to US 7, because India's acceptable inflation is 6, let's say, on the upper side. But US acceptable inflation is always, US is 1.5 to 1.5. Bank interest rates were increased in US to such an extent that people could not afford real estate loans. This is what happened 2020. Why? To handle that inflation, you again have to increase the interest rates. This is what happened. Federal Bank has done it. We have done it. From 4 to 6.5%. The repo rate was increased in India. Now you again started reducing. Now you have come down to 5.5. But why did you increase it by 250 basis points, 4 to 6.5? Okay, primarily to handle what? Inflation. Why? During COVID, you started minting money. US went ahead with pumping money into the economy. US pumps money. It's not that inflation will only increase in US. US pumps dollars, inflation increases across the globe. Because assets become costly across the globe. With those dollars, you can buy assets in Dubai also. You can buy assets in India also. So the logic here is more minting of money done by US can also inflate inflation across the globe also. So this is the trouble. US can do that. And then China, next subsequent year, China went ahead with monetary stimulus. US, only you can mint money. Why can't we? This is what has happened. Okay, so now this is a very newspaper-based question. In the post-pandemic, many central banks had carried out interest rate hike. Every day in newspaper, Turkey 80, US this much, and therefore Federal Bank has increased interest rates. This at respective central banks were increasing interest rate. This is what you. Central banks generally assume that they have the ability to counteract the rising consumer prices through monetary policy means. If you don't assume, why will you do? You have confidence that through your monetary policy tightening, you will be able to handle inflation. And therefore you do it. Simple. Okay, this is news. That is one understanding is casual reading of newspaper means 1 or 2 additional questions right. Remember this. Okay, so maybe some toppers would have cleared without reading newspaper. I agree. You can read magazine and clear. But casual reading of newspaper for 45 minutes, nothing is going to happen. I'll be able to identify, see things better. That much I can tell you. I'll be able to see things better. I can see through few things. I can see through examiner's mindset when I'm reading newspaper, and sometimes there will be straightforward questions. So both are okay. Is that okay? So this was one question. This was again monetary policy. Straightforward, no confusion in 23. So it should be part of Open market operations. Okay, straightforward question from monetary policy. And there is no confusion. Later on, you can go back and see this question. Okay, very straightforward question. In our NCRT also, there is a discussion on sterilization. If you're reading NCRT, you'll find there is a discussion on sterilization activity. And there were a lot of discussions on operation twist, extension of open market operation in the newspapers. That's how it's a newspaper question. Is that okay? Yes? This is some logic-based question. Logic-based question. So this is about investment. But here, instead of asking, in the subsequent years, what was he asking? Which of the following is fixed asset? Which of the following is fixed capital? Which of the following is working capital? That was the question we have seen, 2024. 2023, so when I talk about investment, according to economists, it's all about capital formation. So if you know about the expenditure method of calculation, GDP at market price, C plus I plus G plus NX. Everybody should be knowing that. So what are the components in that I? I'm just asking you, GDP is equal to C plus, GDP at MP, market price, is equal to C plus I plus G plus NX. Okay. I, that is investment, consists of what and what, is my question. Can you tell me what is there in that I? Okay. So that is private player is buying some assets. So one is GFCF, gross fixed capital formation. Gross fixed capital formation. Actually, if you see GDP at MP is equal to, you have the formula. Of course, we're not going to derive anything here, just for observation. So my question to you all is, what does this I consist of? Earlier question, buying shares and bonds, will it be part of I? No. Buying shares and bonds will not be seen as I as far as GDP calculation is concerned. That was a previous question. 2013 question, if a tourist is coming to India and is buying something, okay, where will that figure out? Okay, C, I, it will figure out as part of X, that is export. That was previous question. So this is how the question papers evolved. You have to observe the evolution of question paper. So earlier it was a question like a tourist is coming, buying something, buying a shirt, etc. That is, okay. So then I has what? One GFCF. Is it tangible, intangible, generally? Can intangible entity also be part of GFCF? Suppose tomorrow question comes up, GFCF should only consist of intangible, only consist of tangible item. Now, is it right or wrong? Got the question? Tangible is what? Something which I can feel and touch. Intangible, I can't feel and touch. Vision IAS is using a software. Vision IAS is using a laptop. Vision IAS is using this digital board. Obviously, digital board is an investment, capital good for Vision IAS. Laptop can be seen as an asset. But what about software used by Vision IAS? That is also can be seen as part of my GFCF. Can I touch, feel and touch software? I can't feel and touch software. Sometimes even infrastructure of the government is building infrastructure, private player is buying assets, we are building houses, all that is part of GFCF. Okay, then you have change in inventory. Change in inventory. Change in inventory. Inventory. Can I feel and touch inventory? Yes. It's not required. Okay, so change in inventory. Inventory. Can I feel and touch inventory? Yes. Okay. So then change in valuables. Valuables is like gold and other things. So these are the components which are there in my I. So when I look at inventory, inventory is also part of my investment. Change in inventory. Okay, closing stock minus opening stock we call it as, that is also part of my I. So of course, now what the question is something like asking which of the following are intangible. So intangible, tangible I remove first. Tangible, inventory, something which I can feel and touch. And then comes to intangible. Brand recognition, brand is intangible. Intellectual property, intangible. Mailing list of clients, intangible. Mailing list of clients. Clients, you may say, I can touch clients, but not like that. Okay, it's a mailing list of clients. Is this clear? Understood. So they can dig deeper into asking like GFCF and other things, but there's no confusion in the question. That is what you should observe. Okay, this is a question asked from the definition of MSME. Straightforward, factual question. First statement is wrong. Is that okay? So, this was one question that was asked related to stock market. Again, this was also again related to stock market. Finance, what does the term beta mean? Beta is a ratio, which talks about how the share price changes with the change in market price. Okay, so the market price. So market is increasing by a greater extent if the share price increases by a further extent, greater than the market. When the beta is greater than 1. Beta is less than 1, share price increases, but market is what? Sensex Nifty. Market is increasing, but share is not moving much up or down because the beta is less. FMCG stocks have lesser beta. Okay, so UPSC question is observation. Suppose swap is there. Where will swap go? It's a financial instrument. I have opened a stock. Did I see this word beta there? If I have seen the word beta, I am able to recollect it. Then 4 is the answer. 4. Are you able to get this? That means when I am opening my stock or the Zerodha account, am I able to see this ratio called beta? Are you able to get this? Understood? So.
CSAT is qualifying but absolutely crucial. No matter how well you perform in GS, if you don't clear CSAT, your prelims ends there. Every year, many capable aspirants fall short simply because they underestimated this paper. What's the way forward? Structured preparation, consistent practice, and the right guidance. Join the Vision IAS CSAT Classroom Program 2026 starting from 12th June at 11 a.m. What you'll get: complete coverage of quantitative aptitude, logical reasoning and comprehension. Emphasis on speed, accuracy and concept clarity. Regular practice with UPSC level questions. Personalized guidance and mentorship. Available in both offline, classroom and live online modes. Whether you're a first-time aspirant or reappearing, don't let CSAT be the reason you fall short. Struggling to find the right guidance amid UPSC's vast syllabus? Lakshya Integrated Mentoring Program 2026 is your complete solution offering. personalized one-on-one mentorship, complete syllabus coverage including GS, CSAT, essay, ethics and current affairs, plus expert interview guidance with mock interviews. Stay ahead with performance analytics for targeted improvement and daily current affairs updates to keep you motivated and informed. Our phase-wise plan ensures steady progress. Integrated revision and practice phase. 2,600 plus MCQs, 25,000 plus Sandhan questions, and 500 plus subjective questions for a strong foundation. Mains exclusive phase. 120 plus subjective questions including ethics and 10 plus essay topics for mains clarity. Prelims intensive phase. 2,000 plus MCQs daily weekly, plus 25,000 plus Sandhan questions for prelims mastery. Mains intensive phase. 200 plus subjective questions to perfect your mains answers. Total daily questions. Prelims MCQs 30,000 plus. Mains questions 800 plus. Test papers. Weekly Lakshya practice tests, prelims and mains 80 plus. Full-length tests 25 plus. All phases prelims, mains and interview preparation start from 3rd June. Enroll now in Lakshya Integrated Mentoring Program 2026 and prepare smart for your UPSC success.
Understood. So this is about the brief analysis of all the 3 papers. So from that, what we should understand, that is what we have to see for the approach for the prelims. So few takeaways. One is subsequent year discrepancy related questions have to reduce. That means don't complicate your preparation by solving too difficult questions. There is this trouble where you start trying to reach and solve some question papers which are way above UPSC, I can say, or which are not even above UPSC, where we're wantonly trying to make it complex. So don't get into that domain, which is not required, because obviously the question papers have to be straightforward to reduce discrepancy in the subsequent years. After 2024, you see 25, how it has reduced. And then second thing, get a hold on concepts. That means what? For example, this year you have seen alternate investment fund. Tomorrow you will get back and read what is alternate investment fund, who regulates alternate investment fund, what are the different categories in alternate investment fund. This is called as a casual reading. Use AI as much as possible and everything is available. So now you can straight away type AIF, alternate investment fund, everything is there in front of you. Now whether mutual fund is AIF or not, this is how it is. So tomorrow a trick-based question can come up in that area. Are you able to get this? Is that okay? That is the second thing. Third, solve CDS and CAPF papers of last 10 years. If not 10, solve last 5 years. Okay, so when I'm solving, I'll try to observe how the pattern is. This is what you have to do. So solve CDS and CAPF papers religiously. So this is another thing which you have to do. Okay, and research on previous papers, anyhow you do it. Once I do the research on previous papers, clearly some observations and themes for prelims. This is a reflection of themes of prelims. You will observe that there are questions on LAF, NBFC regulation, foreign banking norms, RBI functions. Okay, so these were the areas where questions are coming. Then if you see, there were questions on ETF, corporate bond, GSEC, can you buy GSEC, is there a separate debt entity for trading GSEC, okay, and trading platforms, bonds, FIs, FPIs, new definition of FPI. Okay, that means what are the change in norms with respect to FDI? For example, insurance, recently there was a change. When it comes to space sector, what is the FDI norms right now? So that is all in the newspapers now. What are chit fund companies? How are they different from Nidhi companies? Okay, so these are basic understanding. Extend, don't stop here. You have to extend a little and search more. For example, if I ask you, what is a Nidhi company? Okay, and what is a Nidhi company? Is FDI permitted in Nidhi companies? FDI is not permitted in Nidhi. So how do you set up a Nidhi company? Okay, how is it different from NBFC? Because NBFC is already asked. 2-3 questions asked on NBFC. So can I extend it a little and see what else can be asked? Our mind should be, what is asked, I am perfect. What else can be asked? And what is that I can derive from current affairs of last 1 year, from where there can be questions? That focus, if it is there, and one statement can be a current, another statement can be a factual statement, that is, or a conceptual statement that can come. But no discrepancy will be there. Stick to the basic concepts, and that will sail you through economics. There's no doubt about it. If 16 questions or 17 questions are asked, 14 questions have to be straightforward. Straightforward means I'm not saying concepts will not be asked. You will not have questions like those NBFC. Are you able to get this? Okay, so that is one. So digital economy, topics such as CBDC, digital rupee, fintech innovations. These were the questions last 3-4 years. This is a trend, this is a theme now. This is another theme where questions are asked. Okay, corporate social responsibility, governance, etc. Digital land records, etc. There were questions. Okay, and capital fixed working. This is classification. And then sectors and match the following. So what are the things that will fall in my primary, what will fall in secondary, what will fall in tertiary? Okay, schemes are asked also. I have not touched schemes here. If you know, 1 or 2 schemes are coming every time. Okay, so that is a different aspect. Sectors of economy. This is a frequently asked question. Financial instruments, always coming up every year, financial instruments. So current affairs related to financial instruments and banking become most important for prelims from the observation. So if I'm not reading all current affairs, two topics, current affairs which are very important. One, financial markets. 2, banking, which I can't ignore. Okay, so that is what you understand from the, okay. Then loan structures, lending mechanism. Of course, syndicate loans, he has removed it, but the question was asked. That means new loan structures. What is line of credit? Okay, so syndicate lending, line of credit, there were some issues. UPSC removed this question, but that was asked. Then another area is basically external sector, where questions are coming. Forex, VOP, currency swap. Current affairs, there's a lot of discussion on currency swap, etc. Okay, so these are the themes around which questions are coming. And approach should be, don't solve too difficult questions, because 100% questions related to this, there are questions which are, there is a trouble or there is a discrepancy, will have to reduce. That is something which you should understand. UPSC, don't you think UPSC would have watched the YouTube after the key is released? Some would have gone to the court also, that you have given a fantastic key. Are you able to get this? Okay, so because it's students' life, no? You put in so many years of effort, and 2 questions, 3 questions randomly, you're making a mistake, like those polity questions. It is like you're in or you're out, no? Another 1.5 years in my life is going off. Okay, so without writing means, just because of your error and not my error. So obviously the errors have to come down. How do you reduce error? You can't prepare 2 difficult questions, especially in economics. Because in economics, if you pull yourself beyond a level, there will be A or B. So therefore you can't do it. Maybe in other papers you do. Are you able to get this? So therefore the difficult questions will come down. Stick to the basics, do proper research, solve all the CDS, CAPF papers. Okay, and current affairs, you're reading decent current affairs, that should be sufficient. This should be the approach. So here one, as usual, pull the themes from PYQ. I've shown you some themes from the last 3-year paper. That is themes from last 3-year paper. And that is the trend now. So these are the areas. You can add on agriculture also. If I take few more themes of last 2 more years, agriculture, MSP. Are you able to get this? Okay. Solving this. Any of you saw UPSC prelims? Detailed research. This every time I keep saying. Detailed research. Some may say, sir, UPSC key is a problem. No. So what is the point in doing a detailed research? When there is a problem in key, in fact, you have to do even more detailed research. With respect to those questions, there is a trouble. So that I'll understand tomorrow which question I have to leave. in the exam hall. That's also important. And always try getting 10-15 marks more than the cutoff. If everybody is talking about 195, I should always think of getting 15 marks more if I have to sleep peacefully. Otherwise, no sleep. You are in the border, you may lose out based on the observation. You would have seen. I showed you only economy. I can show you history also. Are you able to get this? Okay, so always 15 marks ahead. 100, 120. 120. How do I get that 120? What should I do? How do I practice? Where should I focus? For every subject, you have a theme. So stick to those themes, then only. So only if you're getting 15 marks more, you can sleep peacefully and read for mains. That is what I feel after observing the key. Otherwise, you say 100, and then you will not read regularly, you will see, and definitely UPSC removes your questions, 3 questions, finished. Forget about wrong answers, those 3 questions are gone. Which you thought they are right. That history question, that polity, where compulsory it is wrong, UPSC's mistake. Now you can't change it. Are you able to get this? Okay. So this is one thing. And then only one textbook. Tell me where textbook would have helped you here. Okay. So for basic conceptual clarity, you get it from one textbook, maybe your coaching notes or some notes if you're not taking coaching. Okay. And internet. Use as much as possible. That's all. So don't read more than one textbook. It's a time waste when I'm reading UPSC textbook, especially for prelims. Solve as many questions as possible. But there's no point in reading more textbooks here. Okay. So that is one. Then mock questions. So while solving mock questions, initially when I'm practicing, so Vision also comes up with sectional tests. We have simulated tests also. That means as and when you write more number of tests, as and when your level is increasing, the difficulty also increases. And you can pick up questions for a particular topic and practice. That is also there. So what can be done? Once the basics are clear, you have a quick revision, you have a QR book also. Quick revision is what? Fast revision of prelims. Okay, so that book you can download. Okay, and you have mock questions. When you solve mock questions, I'll be hitting syllabus through mock questions. So what is hitting syllabus through mock questions? When I'm solving a topic of mock questions on monetary policy, then my whole revision of monetary policy should be over. That means I am, backward integration. Okay, so you can call it as reverse engineering. So one is what? First I read and come to the question. Another one is from question, I am digging deeper, going backward. Now that is another way of clearing concepts. So when I solve the question itself, from 10 questions, maybe 3 areas will be cleared. 3 concepts are cleared. So this is basically hitting syllabus through mock. So mock is not like, okay, I know the answer, they have given the explanation. So I read the explanation, I'll stop there. No. If there is something which I don't know, I dig deeper into it. Through questions, my revision of the syllabus should be over. So that is what you should be doing for mock. For that, sectional tests are also there. You can use those sectional tests. Okay, then conceptual clarity. Focus on this. When I'm reading something in newspaper, when I'm reading something in magazine, I've come across some word. It's a new word. Okay, either I don't read it. If I read it, I should know in and out what it is. There's nothing like halfway through. Halfway through is like, I know something about it. Because you know something, you'll attempt. If you attempt, you make a mistake. So I will read that concept in detail. Like, I'll understand what it is. Are you able to get this? So this is what I mean, complete conceptual clarity. And if your basic concepts are clear, more than 10 questions are solved. Basic concepts like fiscal policy, monetary policy, financial markets, BOP, basic concepts are clear. So out of 16, 10 will be definitely right. And through practice, another 3-4 will be right. That's all. No breaking your head, whether I should read Ramesh Singh, that, this, no. Okay, so then forget about dicey questions and UPSC key. I only showed. I am only telling you, forget. Why? Because that will not get continuously repeated. So obviously I'll not put my head into this. This is like this, that means all my energies should be only into clearing the exam. My energy should not be dissipated. Limited energy. So I'll not think much about dicey. It's okay. So that is the reason straightforward question should be right. I should not make any mistakes, silly mistakes in the straightforward question. So there are 3 dicey questions. One is right, 2 are wrong. It's okay. Let it depend on UPSC key. But those questions where concepts and straightforward questions are asked, there I should be perfect. So that is what you have to keep in mind. And for current affairs, one, read Indian Express, one newspaper of your choice, Indian Express or Hindu. Okay, so read it. If you may find it like not useful, time waste, but casual reading of 40 minutes, casual reading of 30 minutes will also help. Remember this, why I am telling you. There may be some questions, assertion, reason questions, statement A, statement B questions. You will mark the right answer just because you have read the newspaper. Okay, so half an hour you can spend on reading whenever you are idle. And then a monthly magazine, if you have time, you will read. You don't have time, anyhow, PT 365. That is anyhow there. This time UPI-based question was asked. I taught it in PT class. UPI-based question was asked. I have not put that factual question. That was straight from the current affair. We have put a table where whichever country is accepting UPI. Straightforward. When I've taught in magazine class or monthly current affair, direct from the magazine only. Okay, so observe few things. You will understand that changing trends continuously where RBI is stressing, these are the important areas. So PT is there, one magazine, if you have time, magazine, monthly magazine, don't have time, then PT. That's all. That is something like which you have to keep in mind. And one more thing. For example, this year there was circular economy question. IBRD question was also there. That is World Bank. And circular economy question. Circular economy was already asked in mains. Okay. Now this year there was a prelims question on circular economy. 1, 2, 3 statements were given. Simple question. So something that has come up in mains. Also I should know that word I should know. It's not that I don't know what it is. So it's like integrated. See, UPSC's syllabus is clearly defined in mains, but UPSC syllabus is never defined in prelims. So prelims syllabus definition is basically based on our PYQ. We are defining syllabus in prelims based on PYQ. Okay, so one is, this is from last 3 years papers. This is the area where questions are coming. Okay, based on PYQs, these are the themes. PYQ, all PYQ put together, syllabus like, you are defining, oh, this is the area. Last 3 years, trend is that. So wherever trend goes, I have to follow. That means those are the areas where my maximum research has to be done. Those areas which I've mentioned earlier. Okay, and then other things also I will read. It's not that I will leave. Basic concept I have to read anyhow. Okay, so current affairs, simple solution for current affairs, one magazine, one newspaper, monthly magazine. Monthly magazine, there is no time, PT, survey and budget. Very simple. Survey and budget classes are there. You are not interested in sitting in the class, then material is also there. Okay. Are able to get this? Everything is available now. So there's no worry only. Any doubt you have, use AI. That's it. Okay, so this is how it is. Is this clear? Understood? Any doubts? I think there's a fair understanding of what has to be done. Okay, so any doubts, any textbooks you have, like you have reference books or what has to be done, what should be the approach, etc. Any doubts you have, you can ask, you can feel free. See, who expected? Coaching institutes expected. That will not be asked. Remember this. Coaching institutes expect many things because every coaching institute may say, so this is important, that is important. But what we should observe is very clear. Okay, so, but data points on sectors of economy, infrastructure, agriculture, okay, and poverty, unemployment, inequality, inclusive growth. These are the areas, data points are important for mains. So whenever I'm preparing for my mains, so mains questions are only from 6 areas. 1, inclusive growth. 2, economic growth. 3, sectors of economy. Sectors of economy, agriculture, manufacturing, infrastructure is one more area. Okay, poverty, unemployment, developmental issues, inclusive growth related issues. Okay, so these are the areas where questions are definitely going to come. So data points in economic survey, which are relevant for these areas, there I will put my energy. But every data point will not come. But sometimes, for example, if you go 4 years back, suppose you find that largest exporter of rice, there was a question. Okay, and says China is the largest exporter of rice. Is the statement right? India. That means that you would have got it because you have read agriculture topic, and there you find that India was largest exporter of rice in the last few years. Okay, so then that means rice and wheat is one typical area where I will do my own research. Suppose there is something like in news, like you have genetically, you have GI tag given for some wheat. Okay, then I'll not stop there, I'll check whether GI tag is given for rice. And then I'll come to the budget. In budget, there is this, what is that? Makhana board being set up in Bihar. But Makhana, basically, is there a GI tag on Makhana? So my research will be starting from the point which I read the budget. I'll not stop at the point, but I will extend my... See, this is basically because everybody has access to AI. So I'll ask questions. So I'll not stop at like, okay, Makhana board has been set up. Then comes who's the largest exporter of Makhana. So Punjab is the largest exporter, though Makhana board is in production and Makhana board is in Bihar. Okay, then comes like GI tag with respect to Makhana. So these things may not be there in the economic survey, or in the budget. But budget says what? Makhana board has been set up in Bihar. So Makhana is my topic. So in and around Makhana, I will play. This is how it is. Then calamari rice. So does it have a GI tag? This is how you have to do. Why am I doing it? Because agriculture was a theme. This year it was not there. But agriculture is a very important theme if you take last 5-6 years papers. And therefore, I will spend sufficient energy on agriculture. And it will not go waste. If I'm not using it here, I will use it in schemes in the mains. It will not go waste. I'm reading schemes, I'll not keep quiet. No, wherever there's a question, I'll use the scheme. So that you have to keep in mind. Okay, so, and then things are okay. So suppose 17, 18 questions are coming. Next year, dicey questions will come down. So obviously, dicey question has to come down means difficulty has to come down. So don't break your head taking the difficult of the difficult papers and getting confused. Rather than doing that, first get the hold on concepts, then go step by step. So once conceptual clarity is there, 10 out of 15 will be right. Then practice of previous questions and analysis is done, another 2-3 will be right. Another last 2-3 depends on, though you work hard, though you read 3 textbooks, 2 textbooks, if UPSC is giving 1, 2, 3, what can you do? So therefore, there's no point in doing for that one question, there's no point in reading a textbook and wasting my time. That time I will put it on ethics or optional, where I have to maximize my score. That logic you have to... So though you read another textbook, I don't think you will get that question 50% which UPSC has, so the foreign bank criteria of RBI or NBFC, LAF question. Those things you will not be able to answer just because you have read another textbook. Because it all depends on what UPSC is thinking is the answer is. And that will reduce in the subsequent. One textbook, read it religiously, solve it properly, solve previous questions, get the concepts right. Keep that in mind. Okay, so anything else? Understood? Okay, that's all then. Thank you.